We'll pretend
Um,
I put lipstick on.
no
They're just
worries.
listening to us. They're
Exactly. No one's
looking
really
at
going to be
us.
watching the audio. I mean, the
Right.
video.
The video.
But it'll be audio.
Yeah.
So I want to welcome to the show today, Mel Parsons from Seattle, Washington. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you. It's my favorite month of Seattle, Washington. It's
Yeah, I
very
mean,
warm.
how is the market going up there compared to the rest of the country right now?
You know, we always have a little slowdown in August because people are having a lot more fun without rain than they are buying houses. But compared to the rest of the country, Seattle has just a lot going for it as far as employment and money, that we you know are somewhat, I think. I would never say we're totally protected, but we're definitely not experiencing what a lot of markets are.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. So, you were introduced. I was introduced to you by Brittany Howard. I think Tristan Almada also mentioned your name. A few people in our community mentioned. I've got
Yeah.
to get Mal on the show. I mean, and correct me if I'm right or wrong here, but they basically told me, you were collecting food stamps, you're a midwife, you're making
Hmm.
like $10 an hour, and now you're running this incredible real estate business out of Seattle. I mean, am I somewhat
Yeah.
on track here?
I mean, yeah, you're definitely on track. Um, the further you get from different events in your story, the more you just are like, I can't even believe that was my life. And that this is my life. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I had the wonderful joy of being a midwife and being a Kiwi. You're probably a little more familiar with midwives than a lot of people around here.
Yeah, yeah, it's more of an old school thing, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know if it's making a resurgence, or I haven't heard of it much over here.
yeah, exactly. That's because we're a little behind the rest of the world in our, how we handle birth. But in most all of the developed world, midwives are the provider for uh, low risk normal birth, which is most births. And I'll spend another podcast talking all about our horrible maternal morbidity rates in the US and the association with us all using surgeons for our birth. But anyway, midwives, yes, are the specialists for low risk childbirth. And I got the chance very young to, uh, yeah, be at hundreds and hundreds of births. And it is truly one of the most honored positions in the world to be there when life comes and takes its first breath. It's absolutely, it doesn't matter how many times you see it, you cannot not be touched by that. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we dive into the midwife story, which is going back,
Yeah.
what's that, 10, 15 years now, 5 years, 10 years,
2013 was when I
2013.
sold my practice. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it's
Hmm.
only 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So now, today, 6 years later, you're running
Yes.
this team out of Seattle. Can you just tell us
Yep.
a little bit about where you're at today with your business? And then let's
Yeah.
backtrack after that so we can
Sure.
piece it all together.
Sure. So I've just hit 4 years of having a real estate license. And that was on a total whim. That was, I actually saw a Groupon for buying a course to get a real estate license. And so for like $180, got, a real estate license. I had no idea what I was doing. Um, in 2017, I was like, oh, I'm good at this. And I want to start a team because I'm actually, um, there's no way I can keep up with the business that I have. And so in 2018, the first year of starting a team, we were able to sell 34 million, and you know, with very little in paid leads, a GCI of 865. It was like, oh, this is working. And so here we are, growing. The team's a lot bigger now. We have 7 buyers agents, another listing agent, and myself, and transaction coordinator, and full-time assistant who reminds me of really basic things to do, which is invaluable. So that's where we are now.
Wow. Wow. So for the
Yeah.
last sort of 12 months or so, what's your volume looking like, do you think, since?
Yeah, I think that we are on par for matching 2018. We're certainly not 10 timesing our goals in 2019, but we're certainly spent a lot of time tying down systems and getting things working tighter. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's the sort of the richest
I
part of
will
this.
I will
Yeah.
tell you that in going into 2019, my coach said to me, I want to see you selling multi-million dollar homes. And I said, I still internally see myself as the, um, well, what if they find out? What if they find out that just a few years ago, that I just bought my first home last year in 2018? What if they find that out? Or what if they find out that just, a few years ago, I was watching other people's kids for $15 an hour in the summer to help make ends meet? How could I sell multi-million dollar homes if someone found that out about me? And my coach talked sense into me and said that you're an excellent person for this job. You know how to meet people right where they're at and give them the assurance and calm that they need to do this. And so I did set out a goal to sell 3 homes over $2 million in 2019. And by the 3rd week of April, I was listing the 3rd home over 2 million. So actually I ended up selling one for 2.9 and 3.65, and then, putting one on market at 3.1. And all I did was set an intention. I mean, that is some serious talk about mindset. Yeah.
Who's your coach, by the way?
So I have a few different coaches, and that coach I'm referring to is Kelly Tadlock. She coaches me on all this big mindset stuff in my head that would slow me down every day if I let it.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let's.
I should also give huge props to Club Wealth and my coach, Cherie Benjamin, who, when I called her and told her about a 6-figure commission check, was like, okay, and this is what you're going to do with it. So yes, that was great.
Yeah, Club Wealth seems to be coaching a lot of great agents these days. They keep popping up in these interviews.
Yep.
So awesome. So I want to backtrack now, because I think the real interesting part about you is not how successful you are today, but how you were able to do it so quickly and what you were doing before real estate. I mean, you were literally, a midwife and just helping people give birth to babies. I mean, how did you get into that? I mean, where did that come about? Because that's not like a traditional career route. I mean, was it?
Let's see. I gave birth to my first baby with midwives at 24, and I looked at my husband, and this just says a little bit about my personality. I said, I'm either going to do that 20 more times or I better become a midwife, because I loved the experience. It was like the most powerful thing that I had ever participated in. And I just thought it was the coolest thing there ever was. And so he was like, well, why don't you become a midwife? Because we're not going to have 20 kids.
Yeah.
Although right now I think he probably feels like we have 20 kids, because we are raising 4 kids that he stays home with. So I'm sure it feels like 20. But I went right into the program. By 25, I was, it had a preceptor, and actually, had my hands on the baby the first time a baby came out. And so amazing. So that that was a deep, deep part of my identity. I helped a lot of families have really, truly, like like you're a dad, right? That's like the most memorable day of your life.
Right.
And I got to be there with these people and and be invited into truly like the most intimate part of their relationship. And it was incredible. And until it wasn't anymore. Uh, you know, as you can imagine, being a midwife is a lot of work. It is the middle of the night. Most babies come in the middle of the night. You never know how long it's going to take. And the um, you know the demands on my husband was intense. We had two kids, two little kids, and we were having a third. And we talked about how we would I would take a break. I was going to take a good 6 months off and be at home with our new baby. And sorry about that.
It's okay.
Are we back?
Yep.
Okay. And then I found out that our third daughter had a very rare genetic condition and wouldn't live outside the womb. And this is news that I had to give to others and never once dreamed I would be on the receiving end of. And I knew it was a club I never, ever wanted to be a part of.
So you had dealt with this before with some of your customers.
Yeah. So
Okay.
lots of, you know, 1 in 4 pregnancies is actually lost by miscarriage or stillbirth.
Oh,
It's
wow.
very, very common, but culturally, we're so uncomfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
So you'll actually have people listen to this show and say, oh, thank God someone's talking about this because this happened to me also. Um, when we had an amazing 64 minutes with Phoenix while she was alive, and our daughters got to hold her. It was the most sacred day of our lives. It will be very difficult to top uh, this encounter with life and death so close together. It was also hell, absolute hell, to go home from the hospital without a baby. It's absolutely um, the I always called it the heaviest emptiness I ever felt. It was just awful, awful. And here, my job, were I to go back to work, when my body had healed, was to help people welcome their babies and take them home. I was not up for it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I imagine. I imagine.
Yeah. So in my real brokenness, I actually was like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. It felt so wrong. I hated those pregnant people and their healthy babies, because that's what grief says. Um, I was I was very, very broken. Um, yeah.
So do you think without that sort of tragedy that you went through, would have you kept doing it? I mean, it sounds like you were pretty burnt out
Mm,
anyway, right?
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
kind
I
of
mean,
like the end of the road. Like
I
just,
think it's such a good question. Would I have kept doing it? I, it, my identity was Mel the midwife. I did not have plans to do anything else. I also was tired. It was, it's, it's not just beautiful, as we can tell from my story. It's not just beautiful. Here's your baby, and everything's okay. Um, there's a lot of emergencies to handle. There's a lot of you better keep these two people alive pressure that goes on. And you encounter some of the most beautiful moments and some of the most horrible moments. So I don't even know if I'm entirely done with birth, I'll be honest. I love real estate. I love it. It still fits my need for some thrills and high risk situations. um, but I still, it's still so very natural for me to be with a family. I actually one time had clients that were buying and selling a house with me, and I was calling to talk with them about an offer that I got in, and they were in the car on the way to the hospital because her water just broke. And it was the best moment ever because I'm talking her through, uh, this early labor and also their offer.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty fun.
So obviously, the midwife thing was more, it was more who you are and more of a passion. You certainly weren't doing it for the money. I mean,
I certainly was not
what was
doing
the,
it
I
for the
think,
money.
I've heard the story once before, but the thing that really blew me away was how much you were actually making doing,
Yeah.
sacrificing so much and just going
Yeah.
above and beyond. I mean, can you talk us a little bit
Yeah.
about financially what that was like?
Yeah. Well, America should be ashamed. And New Zealand definitely reimburses their midwives much better than the United States. So my best year was probably 2012. And I say best year meaning I made the most money. I made $65,000 that year. And I worked so much for that. We're talking a lot of weeks. I would be like, and here's another 80-hour work week. And a lot of that's in the middle of the night and totally unpredictable. And I was just about to take my daughter to this, ballet performance. And instead I have to run because someone's in labor over and over and over. 65,000. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, okay, so let's fast forward a little bit.
Hmm.
You're decided you're done with midwifing.
Yep.
How did you pull the plug, so to say, on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So I had a business partner who knew that it was going to be real hard to come back um, anytime soon. And one night I got a text from her and she said, "Would you like out?" And it was the biggest weight off my shoulders. It was the biggest weight off my shoulders that I'd ever felt when she said, "Would you like to be out?" And I said, "Absolutely. Thank you." And an attorney drafted up papers, and she bought me out of the business. As you can understand, that doesn't mean much financially, but I was um, now for the first time stay at home parent. And those that know me know that doesn't jive super well with my personality, but it was exactly what I needed. I needed to be home with my kids who were 9 and 5 and had the dreams of a baby sister that they, said hello and goodbye to in the same day, and really needed to be there with them and make things as consistent and stable as I could. So, but that time of my life was just about, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. I don't need to know that. I do need to know that maybe at some point I ate something today. That type of grief and trauma just, it rocks you. And we felt so held and carried by our friends and family in that time. I always say that we were super poor. My husband also quit what he was doing. He's a carpenter. He was working for a company that was really not awesome and not understanding, and so he quit and started doing construction work for himself during that time. So um, it was very lean financially.
Yeah, yeah. So it
Yeah.
must have, you're grieving,
Hmm.
and financially you're strapped. So there must have been a lot of
Hmm.
stress on your shoulders. I
Yeah.
mean, looking back at it, I mean, how did you deal with that? I mean, were there certain
Yeah.
mentally, what did you tell yourselves, and how did you eventually, get take get out of that and go to the next step?
Yeah. Good question. Can you still hear me? With
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I hear
having
you.
all great. Okay. So good question. I when things get that thin financially, and my focus was, okay, did I get outside in the last 3 days? Um, I'm not thinking like, what awesome thing am I going to do next? I was really in some survival times. I actually did start watching some other people's kids for $15 an hour in the summer. I figured out a lot of very resourceful ways to live off of very little money. And one day I did sit down and have a little meeting with myself. Um, I was like, what is the plan here? I think, I have shared that I was like, that's it. We're going off to the Peace Corps. We need some big change in our lives. Everything needs to have great, deep meaning. But really, I sat down and I wrote down a list of what made me good at being a midwife. What was it that had me have such a very full business as a midwife? And what could I do with that? So I wrote out, calm under pressure, warm and approachable. Um, that I could handle a high stress situation with calm and ease. That was feedback I was often given. We had no idea what an emergency it was because you made it seem so calm. And I asked myself, what do you do with these things? And the cost of living in Seattle was rising very rapidly at that time.
Were
I
you
knew
guys
I was,
renting or did you own, or
we, we had always
you
been
was rented,
renting.
right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I didn't have any value of home ownership at all. I was like, I just love to be a good midwife and mom. It was not at all on my radar what I was missing out on with taking care of my family through uh, home ownership. Now I'm like, I want to buy all the homes. So no, we were renting. We could hardly pay our rent. There was plenty of times we had to ask the landlord to please help us as we needed extra time to scrape money together. So the cost of living is quickly rising. And I was like, I don't even know what a real estate agent does, but I bet you they make some money. And I'm pretty certain that I could do it. So whatever it is, I'm going to give it a go. And then I saw the Groupon that night and I was like, all right, I'm buying this Groupon for a real estate class. You know, any of us in real estate know that the barrier to entry is very, very slim. So I did it. I took an online course. I didn't know anyone in real estate. I had never talked to a real estate agent. That's how far I was from the industry in 2014. And then 2015, I took my licensing exam, and I was like, well, I guess I'll give this a try. And I I was, people said go do open houses. Okay. So I went into an open house, and I'd probably done maybe 5 open houses. And this
Th-
guy came in. Yeah, go
These were
ahead.
listings of, I mean, where did you hang your
Yeah.
license and how did you get, whose
Yeah.
open house?
Yeah, so I went to a Keller Williams office. They are known for their training, and that is when I started asking people what to do. Oh, if you're a new agent, you should go to Keller Williams. And so I went to Keller Williams, and I was holding open houses for listings of other agents in the office. And I showed up at open houses, and maybe I brought some cookies, and I just did what people said to do. And they said, look at comparable homes on the market nearby and go hold the open house. And so I had a special one day where I was holding the open house, and a guy came in and he said, I think I want to buy this house. And I said, oh, that's so great. You can just tell your agent. And he said, well, I don't have an agent. And I was like, oh, you don't? I was like, this is my time. And his mom said, well, you seem nice. I said, I am. I'm very, very nice. And I will help you buy this house. And sure enough, I did. And also that day, someone came in down the road and said, "We'd like to sell and buy." And I said, "Well, I should help you." And so I put their house on the market. And, I just was like, great, this is how it's done. Jumped on in. I did have a coach at that Keller Williams office. And I'll love him forever. He was just, he believed in me way more than I did, and told me the best steps and what to do.
It's amazing. It reminds me a little bit of the first guest I interviewed for this podcast, a guy called Robert Slack in
Yeah.
Florida. And he was 67 years old and selling used cars and depressed. And he couldn't put food on the table anymore. He wasn't making enough money. And he's like, what can I do in my old age at this, to make money? And
Yeah.
so he put together a list, and he went through the list, and he's like, real estate, that looks good. Barrier to entry slow. And this was only 5 years ago, right?
Yep.
And, this year his team will sell over 4,000 homes. He'll be the number one team in the country. But it's just amazing sort of, you just got to jump in and try it sometimes. But I think, the timing was obviously fantastic as well. You had the right mindset, and you got help. You got some good sort of coaching along the way. I mean,
oh yeah.
how imperative was that?
Yeah. I often joke that I am so Lab Coat Agents is a large Facebook group, the largest Facebook group for real estate agents. And I remember, I joined that group early on in 2015 when I got my license. I was like, okay, I'm gonna find a friend of mine at the office added me to this group. He's like, oh, you've gotta read this. And Nick Baldwin, and I joke that I'm the poster child for Lab Coat Agents, because honestly, it was what I read and learned there that got me here. Yes, I am one of those crazy types that is like, you know what? If it can be done, I'm gonna do it. And I have a very hard time taking no for an answer. I am tenacious as can be. And you combine that personality with all these geniuses in the industry just like pouring out their experiences online for me to read. And I soaked it up.
Yeah, it's funny. Do you know Misty Bruton?
Yes, Misty was my coach for a year.
Oh,
I
okay.
I attribute a lot of my success to Misty
Well,
in that year of 2018.
She said the same thing. She literally, when she got in real estate, didn't know a thing. And she got onto Lab Coat Agents and just started reading every single post, and just learn a ton. So it's amazing with the internet now. Hey, what you can do from home.
Well, you know what's so amazing about that is that I can feel really proud of myself, and I still am, that I, in my third year in real estate, had a team get to a GCI of 865,000. I am proud of that. And then people like Carrie Scholl come along, and I get to meet them at a Lab Coat Agents event and have her say, yeah, in December, my team had $900,000 in GCI. Oh, that's awesome. You pulled that off in 1 month. Wow. How can I hang out with you more often? How can I learn more from you? And that's what Lab Coat Agents has been so great with, is just connecting me to all these other people that I can look at and go, you just completely blew my goals out of the water. And now my mind can't ever go back to that. Now I'll never be satisfied with getting that in 1 year, right? I love it.
Yeah. It seems to be a recurring theme with the most successful people I've spoken to, is that they are really good about getting out of their comfort zone, hanging out with people who are better than them, and just really spending a lot of time learning and networking with other people. It's so easy to get stuck working in your business rather than on your business. And they're also, leverage is such a big part of these top performers. And I guess that's something that you wouldn't have been able to learn as a midwife. I think midwifing would have given you a lot of great lessons for being a real estate agent. Probably
Yeah.
one of them, I mean, you can't use leverage in midwifing, right? You can't use technology in midwifing. It's very manual and you've got to be
Hmm.
there for everything.
Right. Right.
So real estate, you can use a lot of technology, you can leverage, and you can grow huge very quickly if
Yeah.
you do it appropriately.
Right. I mean, and there's no ceiling.
Yeah.
There is no one's going to come and say, this is it. You're done. There's laws. That's important.
Yeah.
And you can just, I mean, yes, there's so many different ways to be successful. And, you know, the parallels between what I did as a midwife and what I'm doing in real estate are endless. It is, it, so many people, when I told people, and I had a really hard time telling people that I was going into real estate because they had thought of me as this very nurturing, mothering person. And when people think of real estate, what do they think, right? I'm going to be like arms across my chest, chin up, headshot, which sure I'll have some of those, but that's not. They don't think that is that someone who is known for being nurturing and doing a lot of handholding is going to have a lot of success. They think of people that are cutthroat. They talk about sharks, right?
Yeah.
So um, the truth is that my business has grown because my brand is that we are going to provide a very high level, high touch service to you. It is like a concierge. Like we're going to carry you from, we do not fit in this house anymore, to, I can't believe we're here. We are in the house that works for us. And that is a long time. Just like pregnancy and birth. I usually work with people for a year when they were pregnant, right? And till the baby's 6 weeks old. We don't need the quick turnaround. We're known for helping you get from, we just feel stuck. We can't stand it. We need to stay in this neighborhood. We're hooked into these schools. We have a very low inventory city with old homes packed right next to each other. They feel like, how will I ever find anything else? And then we help them do it. And we help them make that switch that they thought was impossible. And it's not about being the most cutthroat. And uh, I certainly get offers accepted that other people might not. But that is just because of how I do relationship with people.
So you've really sort of carved out a niche for yourself, in
Yeah,
real estate, right? A lot of people
yeah,
just try and buy and get as many deals as possible, but you're kind of gone down a different path of like, these are the types of clients we're going after.
yeah.
Um, and
I was
how do you
scared to
mark?
death.
Yeah, and how do you get them? Can you talk about that just a little bit? And then how do
Yeah.
you, what was that niche, and how do you get in front of those people?
Yeah, I was scared to death to carve out a niche because when we say carve out a niche, we usually make our hands smaller, right? We think it's a smaller piece of the pie. But when you master that smaller piece of the pie, my coach is like, I want you to sharpen that, sword every day. Just constrain and focus, constrain and focus. How are you helping families that feel stuck? They've got 3 kids in a 3-bedroom house, and their lives are so established in that neighborhood, they don't know what to do. Those are my people. I know exactly what to do with those people now. And the way that I market that is I use that language a lot. And people feel stuck. And I say that we help unstick people. We help you when you're feeling like uh, it's time to break up with your house. That house is not working for you anymore. And I'll tell you how many people feel the need to stay in that house for sentimental reasons. They brought their babies home there. It, it's hard for them to imagine leaving. They love their neighbors. Well, I can help you think into the next phase, right? And I'm going to honor in every way all the sentiment about that house. I'm not going to come along and be like, I know, but you got $500,000 in equity there. Like, let's get rid of it. I mean, you do, and I'm going to help you see that, but I'm going to say, I see that this is hard. And also, one toilet for 5 people is a little bit restricted, wouldn't you say, when you've got this much equity? So I do that. I talk about it. There's a lot of word of mouth is really big. You know, a lot of my clients then refer me to other clients. And I also use video, and we do a lot of storytelling. I love storytelling. I mean, you brought me on to tell my story. But yes, talking about, you know, how your house is not fitting you and your lifestyle anymore. That's really the niche that we're going for.
Yep. And by the way, yeah, your video on your website is awesome. I love how authentic it is and how you tie your story to their story so people can relate to you and trust you and want to work with you. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we love we work with Mike Cuevas, real estate marketing dude, and we're going to go shoot a video with our team tomorrow, and all we have to do is shoot it and then send it down, and they edit it and make it look all fun. And but it's so smart. I mean, real estate agents, you should be doing video. That's my takeaway right now.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So one last question. You know, if there's a young Mel Parsons out there, you know, graduated college, she may be in a job she doesn't like. She's just doesn't know where she's going in her life, and she's thinking about real estate. What would you tell her?
Yeah, I would tell her to close her eyes and envision what she really wants for her life. What do you want? We get one life that we remember, at least. What do you want from this life? And repeat that to yourself and dream on it and think about it and own that vision. And then you take on the belief that that is yours. I also can't say enough about just reading books and surrounding yourself with people that help you. Like, there's this book, You're a Badass. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. Oh, it's a good one. It's a great one. Jennifer Sincero wrote that book. She has written You're a Badass with Money. I read that book early on, and I was like, yeah, I should do this. Even though I've never bought or sold a house myself, I should do this. And absolutely finding the people that you want to emulate, right? And finding something in everyone that you can learn from. That's a huge part for me. I might talk to people in real estate and be like, dang, I am so glad I don't have to sit down to dinner with that person. But if they're having success, it's not like I need to go make up anything new around here. Like, people know what they're doing. Follow and look at the real successful people in real estate, and figure out what part of it works for you, and then stick with it, and don't stray from it for a good 6 months before you decide if it's working or not.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice, but I've got to follow up on that. You know, you seem a very authentic, genuine person. So I'm just really curious. I mean, you've mentioned a few names of, you know, Carrie Shull, Mike Cuevas, you know, Misty Bruton. Who are some other people out there that you really look up to in the industry that you follow and you learn from?
Yeah, thanks. Brittany Howard has my heart forever. She got into real estate like a year before me, and she was so vocal in the Lab Coat Agents group. And I needed to see a female that was crushing it, and a mom, you know, and that was her. And I will always be so thankful to her. And you know what's so great about Brittany? To this day, it might be 1 a.m. If I send her a message, I mean, she never sleeps anyway. If I send her something, she is on it. She is like right back at me with what she, you know, well, try this, or what about this? So I'll always, I'll always be indebted to her. Um, Misty Burton, Cherie Benjamin, Ron Anderson with Club Wealth, Michael Hellickson's Club Wealth. He was my very first coach. And still to this day, when I have a big win, I text that man. When I wrote an offer for my own house, I sent him a text, because when I met Ron, I was such a mess. I didn't know what I was doing, but my eyes had been opened to the fact that I could make it in this industry. And I should actually start trying. I was like, whoa, there's a lot of opportunity here. And now I need to know like how to get serious about it. And it was Ron who helped me with all of that. So yeah, I really look up to him. There's people out there that have no idea that I am following their every move. Ruth Krishnan, we've never once talked. She's in San Francisco. My eyes are on that woman. I'm like, I want to do exactly what she does. So yeah, it's a wonderful day and age.
Ruth was episode 4 of this podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, yes. Now I'm so excited to go listen. She's like my total crush. I mean, Carrie Shull also, I just drool over what that woman is doing.
Yeah. Carrie Shull with her marketing is genius. I don't know much about her sort of full story from the background, but Ruth has a really amazing story of starting from absolutely nothing, moving to San Francisco and just having a go like you did.
Yeah, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen this afternoon because I'm watching every move she makes.
A lot of strong women in real estate. I tell you, this is kicking a lot of men's butts. It's fun.
Yeah, it is really fun. There's a guy on my team. Yesterday, we were working on this deal, and the woman said, "I'm sorry, I've been at the hospital with my kid," and he looks at me and he's like, I hate that stuff. I hate when they start talking like that. I don't know what to do. And I was like, I got this. It's okay. One of the inspectors I work with, he said, you're like the nurturing killer. Like everybody thinks about you as all calm. And then you just took that 1.3 listing and helped them $5 million out of nowhere. We had no idea it was coming. And women do have a way of maybe there's a lot of hand holding and then a little subtle, competitiveness that comes out of nowhere. And I think that we do have still quite a ways to go in real estate, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm learning quickly is real estate doesn't discriminate, from, episode 2 on this podcast was Long Doan out of Minnesota.
Long.
He's a refugee from Vietnam, right? Didn't even speak English, came here on a refugee boat, and what a story. Yeah. And now look at him today. I mean,
and that man is so generous. I also can message Long. And I mean, Long is so out of my league. So are all these people that I just said. But he will just write back to me and be like, oh, Mel, you're doing great. Here's this. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been having FOMO today, fear of missing out. They're all down at closing table.
I know they are. I know. I'm like, I can't look at Facebook. All the photos. I'm totally missing out. Yeah.
That's a good crew. All right. Well, hey, you've been incredibly generous with your time. I want to thank you kindly. Our audience, I'm sure, got a lot of takeaways from this. Really, really inspiring. So keep doing what you do. And hopefully I'll get to meet you in person one of these days soon.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's near.
Event.
Exactly. Some beautiful beach. We'll make sure of it.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Mel. You have a great day. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, bye.